Good morning. I'm back, your old friend मदन सिंह और मैं आपके साथ बात करने वाला हूं on a very important topic and I'm going to talk to you about Narendra Modi. Basically, a lot of people ask me, Captain, tell us what's the problem? Why has Donald Trump become so anti-Modi? I mean, if it is anti-Modi, and what is the problem? Well, folks, I'll speak a few words about it, give you my assessment. देखिए ऐसा होता है when a man reaches the top he starts slipping, he becomes confident. Same thing happened with Stalin. Same thing happened with Churchill. Stalin, of course, went into his own shell and died of a hemorrhage, while Churchill was voted out of power. That's what happened. And the other man was President Roosevelt. He died in the fourth term. So something does happen. And in this case, I think also it has happened. Modi is going to be 75 very shortly. एंड ही इज बीन इन पावर फॉर 11 years और 11 साल में उनसे सोचा कि मैं बहुत बड़ा लीडर बन गया हूं आई एम बिगर देन इंडिया आई मीन दैट इज व्हाट ही हैज बीन थिंकिंग एंड देयर वर अदर साइकोफैंस हु वर ऑलवेज लिफ्टिंग हिम अप एंड सेइंग सर आप तो विश्व गुरु हो देन समबडी सेड आप विश्व मित्र हो द होल वर्ल्ड recognizes you so this thing went into his brain I think and this is not anything which is what do you call difficult to understand. It is something which is inherent, which happens. And this is precisely what happened in the case of Narendra Modi. So Narendra Modi has become what you call a man cast in his own shadow, in his own iron cage. He began to think that India is one of the big powers in the world and he's one of the leaders. And he was going all over the world, made about 11 visits to America. He made visits everywhere. He went to Ukraine also. I mean, what the hell he went there for, I could make out. But basically, he thought he's going to get the Nobel Prize or something if he brings about peace. And that is the point which really matters. And he went there after meeting Putin and he was pretty unhappy. I think Putin was unhappy about it. Now he's had very good relations with Donald Trump in the first term because there he was saying, yes, sir, 3 bags full to Donald Trump all the time. All the time he was saying that. But this time he had a little bit of a change, and he thought he should exert himself a little more. And he started on the wrong foot with Donald Trump. Now, Trump is a great egotist. He doesn't forget anything. Let's forget one thing. He doesn't forget anything. And to say that he's a maverick, he's a madman, a lunatic, all that is absurd, ludicrous. He's a very intelligent army here, and he has his sights very clear. His sights are that he wants to make America number one, and number two, वो कुछ भी करेंगे अमेरिका को नंबर वन बनाने के लिए because he wants to go down in history as one of the greatest American presidents. That is why he also wants to stop all wars. That's a great thing because he's of the view that all American presidents have fought wars. He would be the one who stopped wars. Anyway, he came back to power in 2024, right? And Modi should have adjusted his step accordingly, but he thought he's been very close friends with Donald Trump earlier and he will be able to revive his friendship. I use the word revive because he forgot about Donald Trump in between. How did he forget Donald Trump? Well, he was visiting the United States in 2024, and that is the time, the American election was just looming on. And Trump made an announcement that my friend Modi is going to come and he's going to meet me. His friend Modi came to America, but he didn't telephone him. He didn't ring him up. He never met him. And all he brought was some gifts for Mrs. Joe Biden, the wife of the president. He gave it to her. And Donald Trump was made to look like an ass. It must have been very bad. The inkling was there. And everybody knew what's going to happen. Because what did he do? He didn't call Modi for his ceremony. And he called the Chinese president. Now that's a very crucial thing. The Chinese president didn't go. President Xi didn't go, but he sent one of his senior ministers there. So gentlemen, ये देखिए बात, यहाँ से the ball started rolling. Modi didn't realize he made a visit to America to placate Trump, बट वो आप देखिए बहुत ही फीकी थी और ये खुद इन्होंने रियलाइज कर लिया होगा कि अब वो पुरानी इक्वेशन नहीं रही विद डोनाल्ड ट्रंप. But then again, he thought he's a great person and Trump will come online because he was always of the view that America needs India for a bulwark against China. And इसने चाइना के साथ दुश्मनी ले रखी थी. He never wanted friendship with China. He didn't go to China for 6 years. And when he was the presiding officer of the, I think, BRICS meeting, he gave it a cold shoulder and he held a virtual meeting in Delhi. It was very sad. And the other people, members realized that India is not serious. But Donald Trump doesn't forget. And he had seen through the facade of Modi that Modi is basically a person who just goes on crutches. He's got no, standing of his own. I just realized he didn't have any standing of his own when in the last meeting which he had with the press along with Donald Trump during his 2024 minutes, a reporter asked him, "What about Bangladesh?" And Trump clearly said, "I have left this job to Modi. Modi will action it." So Modi was supposed to action something in Bangladesh. He did nothing. He was thinking all the time, Donald Trump will do something because why? He had a surmise that Trump didn't like Muhammad Yunus, who was the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. But these are all surmises, and he shouldn't have made such a surmise. But anyway, he took no action in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh turned into an enemy. But at the same time, he thought, I'm going to be very close friends with America, have a strategic relationship with America, and it'll be at the expense, and I won't go to China, I won't give any leeway to the Chinese, I won't discuss the border issue, I won't start any air flights to China. Not forgetting that India had a surplus, or rather a negative surplus of $100 billion with China. And if China were to stop so many of the raw materials and all coming to India, all the TVs and mobiles and everything which was being made in India would collapse. The medicine world which India is exporting would have collapsed. He didn't realize that. And he didn't realize that China had offered a border solution way back in 61. And at that time, Nehru didn't accept it. At this time, he didn't want anything. He was not very clear. And he was trying to isolate Pakistan. Now, when Trump came to power, he came with a different agenda. He didn't have India on the agenda at all. His basic agenda was to have the trade imbalance solved, and he went about with a vengeance. And this is where Modi floundered the first time. India had a delegation going to America, and the delegation was one of the first that went there, and it was thought that India will have a trade pact with America. But now 6 months have elapsed, and India has not been able to sign any trade pact with America at all. And the net result is that every other country from Vietnam to the European Union have signed a trade pact, leaving India out. And in return, since no trade pact with America, Trump has slapped 25% tariff and additional penalty of 25% for buying Russian oil. Now the last part is just a cover up, a ruse to put more tax on India. That's all. Because somehow he had reached a conclusion that then the Modi's grown too big for his boots. And I'll tell you what happened. Modi had gone for the G7 meeting, and this was the time he should have had a meeting with Trump. But Trump left early, so he rang up from Washington and told Modi, "Look, you are here in Canada, so when you're going back, why don't you come and meet me in Washington? General Muni is going to be here, and we'll have lunch together, all three of us." Now, this was something like a red rat to a bull, for good friend Modi. And he said no, inert. And I think the language was a little civil during a 35-minute talk which he had with Trump. And the net result was that Trump was annoyed. Modi came away. He said he's got an important mission. He had nothing important. He went to some Jagannath festival and took part there. And then he was making vociferous speeches in Parliament that he will not agree to a trade imbalance with America. He's going to save the Indian farmers, not realizing that if you open up the farming sector, FDI will come in and the lot of the farm will improve. That's the way I see it. But he didn't want to do it that way, and he was trying to become a hero. But then he became a zero. Because Donald Trump realized this man is a selfish person. He doesn't have acumen and he's too big for his boots. So he began to ignore Modi and began to cultivate Pakistan. Because Pakistan was saying, yes, sir, three bags full all the time. And Donald Trump's ego was inflated, and it was inflated even more when Pakistan recommended him for the Nobel Peace Prize. And on the contrary, India was going hangover and tongs with Modi in parliament, shouting away that as far as the war with Pakistan was concerned, the peace had not been brought about by Donald Trump. Whereas Donald Trump, in about 30 meetings and addresses, had said that he had brought about a ceasefire between India and Pakistan and saved the world from a nuclear conflict. Pakistan said, yes, sir, Donald Trump did it. General Munir was called, and that was the time he had lunch with President Trump. And Trump was planning that he'll call Modi and they'll work out a peace settlement. That was the ultimate aim of Donald Trump. But Modi didn't want to play ball. He thought he's a very big man and should be borne in mind that Trump brought about a peace agreement while getting both the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan to Washington, made them sit down together, and after 37 years, peace was signed between these two countries. So it was not a far-fetched solution that Trump would have brought about peace between India and Pakistan, because you need an independent man to sit there and solve out a problem, and I think that's where Modi really faltered, and faltered very badly. So Modi was wondering what is to be done, and even his stock in the home ground began to go down. I think it would be a false statement to make that perhaps Donald Trump would be happy if Modi is no longer the prime minister. And the last few weeks have seen that the opposition in India, led by Rahul Gandhi, has been energized, and Modi is under great pressure. Though India signed a trade pact with Great Britain, but the fact remains that that is a very tiny deal. The main deal was with America and China. China, of course, India has got a trade deficit of $100 million, and in America we had a plus of $80 million. But that's all it ended, because after the tariffs had been put and another additional 50% tariffs, which I told you the purpose was not that he bought Russian oil, it was because of a dislike of Modi. And Modi should have realized from grade one that Trump no longer considered him as a friend, because when the Indian aliens, or what you call the illegals, were caught in America, and two plane loads of them were sent back to America. And how did they come? Chained, handcuffed, fetters. And Modi kept quiet. He didn't open his mouth. That was where he should have spoken out, because Trump is a bully. And a bully can only understand the language of a bully. I remember, those famous books by James Hadley Chase, in which he had made a statement, that it requires a hood to catch a hood. Or maybe it was Mickey Spillane, I don't recollect, but maybe this was a very famous quote in the gangster movies. It requires a hood to catch a hood. So Donald Trump likes those men who stand up to him, and he has got his admiration for Putin for that reason. And though China has also been buying oil, but he hasn't put any punitive tariffs on them. He said he will put, but now I think he's given them a pause for 90 days, but he hasn't given any pause to India. He said, okay, no, sir, you're going to have this tariff. And the Indian government is bewildered, led by Modi, opposition mounting attacks on him. But basically, all this is, what really matters. Number one, he hurt the ego of Donald Trump by saying that the war was not stopped by him. I mean, frankly, it doesn't make a difference. Even if he had said, yes, sir, you stopped the war, thank you, it would have happened. He would have thought, well, uh, only good about India. But by doing such acts and repeating it that not one but n times, that Donald Trump had no hand in this ceasefire, when actually, let me tell you, he did have a hand. He announced the ceasefire hours before the Indian government did it in a tweet. Now, how did he do it? He did it because he had a hand to play. He knew about it. Pakistan agreed, thanked him for it, and India became jealous and started fighting with him. So you can see the writing on the wall. And in 6 months, secondly, with the trade deal where Modi said he's not going to open up the agriculture sector. Now with America, you don't do such things. Now won't open up this sector and that sector. Asian countries like Indonesia and Vietnam have agreed to take American goods with 0% tariff. Now, why should they do it? They're similar countries like India. But here, the tariffs are the highest in the world. And Donald Trump and his advisor said India is the Maharaja of tariffs. I don't think India was going to make progress, and the result is there. This year, I think we got 0% FDI. Just remember that. And India shouldn't talk too much of being a great power. I'll tell you the big reason is 90% of the Indian population is poor. And if you take away the 10%, the income which they have, India will be among the poorest nations in the world. I mean, is this something which Modi should be proud of? The health of the Indian nation is poor. India doesn't win a single gold medal in the Olympics. China wins over 100. That is because there's no food to eat for 90% of the masses. But Modi is relying on the 10% who understand, because the 10% still means 150 million, and that's more than the population of Germany, England, France combined. So he's riding piggyback on those, at the same time having grandiose schemes which are a big zero, because he's been giving some money like Laldi Ben and all that, 1,000, 1,500 rupees every month to the states which are run by the BJP. I don't think Maharashtra is doing it. I don't think other states are doing it. But Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, all these people are doing it, ruled by the BJP. And home ground, I think he's on a very sticky wicket, because he's been championing some notions, and trying to create a Hindu-Muslim divide so that he could keep winning on the Hindu vote. But the Hindus are not monolithic like, the Islamists, the Muslims, the Sunnis, similar, one together. Hindus have got hundreds of sects, hundreds of castes, and he had an excellent chance to do away with the caste system. He hasn't done away with 11 years. In fact, perpetuated it even more. But that's beside the point what I'm talking about. I'm basically talking about Narendra Modi and his lack of realism. He didn't catch up to what's happening in the world. He should have done something better. I thought he would do something better in any case. But I think he's been a damn squib, basically. The Air Force has gone down, and our pretense of a great power is just not there. When you don't make a single plane, you don't make a single gun, you don't make a single, high profile weaponry here in India, how do you call yourself a great power? There's no way. Because historically, I think Modi must realize that no country becomes a great power by just importing weapons. And you don't become a great power. I'll give you an example of the sixth generation fighter. The Chinese have already made it operational, and that is the J-35. And where is India? Our plane is on the drawing board. Will come in 2036. So Modi was not a realistic man. He thought he's a big person. Basically, he's going above his strength. I remember going through a video of one of my personal friends whom I follow, who stays in America, and in the video he said India's Modi was thinking he's the bigger man. How? He said India, say, was in the lower weight division, like the welterweight or something. But Modi was thinking we are in the super heavyweight. He went there and got blocked out. That's what really happened. So Trump realized that Modi is a man of straw. He can't react. And now he is in panic. No FDI coming in. And he forgot that if tomorrow, if there are sanctions put on India like they've done on Russia, the entire Indian state will collapse. Everything in India, from Google, Microsoft, everything here is basically a American enterprise, American entity. Amazon, Flipkart. So he should have understood it, but he didn't understand it, and he was going around moving in a way. And just before the Operation Indur, he thought he was a big man, where that's how he launched the attack on Pakistan, which he shouldn't have done. He said we attacked the terrorist camps. Fair enough. But in the terrorist camp, there were a lot of civilians staying there. Their families were there. They also got killed. And then he attacked Pakistan without convincing the world. You see, you may have a perception that Pakistan is a terrorist state, but you can't convince the world that Pakistan is a terrorist state. He didn't present any evidence, and the net result of his foreign policy was that out of 193 countries, not even one condemned Pakistan. Nobody named Pakistan, and Pakistan is now discussing methods to combat terrorism with United States. You can just imagine how the clock has turned. And where is India? In the doghouse. So, gentlemen, this is just the small video. I know it's become a little lengthier. When I start talking, I can't forget talking. I continue talking on some one point or the other. The sum total is that Mr. Modi has failed the nation this time. He did a good job in the first 10 years, but the 11th year, he went out of his depth. He thought he was a great man like Nehru. See, Nehru had the same problem. Till 61, he was thinking, I'm the great third world leader. And then he got that knockout blow from China and he couldn't show his face anywhere in the world. I think now it's very difficult for Modi to resurrect himself as a leader, as a global leader. He never was, but he was still making a pretense. And he better now try to see that he can save his chair in India, otherwise that will also go. Well, gentlemen, I hope you like my video. Share it with your friends. In the meanwhile, please subscribe to my channel. I hope I can expect that. I'll say goodbye, God bless, and Jai Hind. And that is the end of the saying which we come to now. Bye bye.